Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. The four Mahavakyas were taken from the statements, the Vedas. Each Veda, we take one Mahavakya. All coming from the Jnanakanda portion, is the Upanishads. So the first one we take is Pragnanam Brahma. From the Rig Veda, Aitareya Upanishad, wherein the analysis starts from Brahma, Prajapati. From Brahma it starts, then to Indra, then to all Jivas, meaning all other categories of beings, then human being, and then to animals. One by one they go, one after the other, the beautiful sequence of reasoning done. And then finally they come to this conclusion. The whole thing is the foundation, the adhara for the entire thing, for the entire lokaha, prajna pratishta. Entire loka is established in that prajnanam. Therefore, Pragnanam Brahma. This is the Lakshana Vakya. So when the student inquiring about what is God, he starts explaining what is God. What is God? We have very vague, ideas. We have our own style of explaining what is God. Here Upanishad gives a very interesting one. It says the entire life is dependent on this awareness, consciousness. This awareness and everything that is conscious of is existing because of that consciousness. Then they start doing the analysis. Then they start asking questions. Okay, sir, there are about 25 people in the class. Now, there were 25 means there is 25 consciousness, Brahma consciousness, Indra consciousness. So 25 beings are there, 25 consciousness are there. 7 billion, 7 billion. So as the number of beings, so many number of consciousness. Simple, no? So immediately Vedanta comes and says, no, no, no. It is one undivided consciousness. Only here the problems will start. Up to this point, there's not a big problem. Consciousness is Brahman when you say, there's no big problem in that. God can be anything, no? Can be everything, correct? So therefore, we can swallow that idea. But then, when you start investigating, we ask this question, okay, if Brahman is consciousness, then consciousness varies. If you say there is only one consciousness, they, beautiful arguments and, counter arguments. See, in thought process, one of the important aspect is in development of your investigations and thinking and theorizing and all that. One important factor there is you have to, what is the effort that you had put in to develop a counter theory? That's important. If you have never worked on developing a counter theory, you are working on only that your theory. You are going on saying only my theory, that this is the theory, sir, full stop it is. Then the theory is not treated as a theory, it will be treated as dogmatic presentations. That's about it. Dogmatically, you are presenting your idea, full stop. You are not thinking. In one of the factors, there are many factors we take into consideration. One of the important factors is this: how much you have put in effort to develop a counter theory, and then validate your theory with that counter theory, and establish yours is more valid, more relevant, etc. See, so here they ask this question. This is raised by Vedanta itself. Of course, in a very strict manner, if you take, we present it as Sankhya philosopher is asking this question. If consciousness is, if that is the case, then if one person goes unconscious, then everybody should go unconscious. That's not what's happening. If one person goes to sleep, everyone should go to sleep. That's not happening. Isn't it? If you say consciousness is Brahman, agreed. Pragnanam Brahma, agreed. But then the swarupa of that consciousness cannot be one undivided consciousness. It has to be multiple consciousness. It's not one. That we will not agree. Then immediately Vedanta comes and says, now Vedanta has to give a rejoinder for that. We have to give an explanation. No. Where is the fault? What is the problem there? This is where basic definitions and points and all is very essential to study. That's why they say to study Vedanta, there are a few things you should have completed before studying Vedanta. Two important things. In fact, there are three things you have to study. One is Vyakarana, Niritta, Vyakarana, word meaning, grammar, these two. Then you should have been familiar with Tarka or Mimamsa. After doing this four only, you should be coming to the study of Vedanta. Because now we will see that. I'll just give you some little sample here, that's all. Now suddenly they'll say, now this statement, Pragnanam Brahma should be studied, not in two things. There are two ways in which we study. One is Vachyartha, another one is Lakshyartha. Very simple it is. Direct meaning, implied meaning, that's all. In Sanskrit, you just, this is a good chance for me to remember those things which I studied some time back. That's all. Otherwise, it's okay. But it's better to know that, Vachyartha and Lakshyartha. Not Lakshana. Lakshana is different. This is Lakshyartha. Lakshyartha means implied meaning, indirect meaning. Wherever there is no direct one, you have to go for this implied meaning. The implied meaning of Pragnanam and the implied meaning of Brahman. What is that? Based on that alone, you can arrive at this conclusion. So if you take prima facie, it will be in trouble. Then what is this? Then they give an example. This is Vyakarana style. Another one is through given, reasoning is given. What is the reasoning? Drishtanta is taken immediately. That is, the sun is shining above, and in the dewdrops that you find in the garden, there are many dewdrops In every dewdrop, there is a sun inside. Correct. Now I ask the question, is sun one or many? Is sun one or many? Night, you go out and you see the moonlight. Correct? Yes, sir. Is it moonlight or is it sunlight? Whose light is that? You refer that as only moonlight, isn't it? But you understand what? It is actually sunlight, but it is reflecting from the moon. Therefore, we are just calling it as moonlight. But factually, what we are referring to? What is the implied meaning? Implied meaning of moonlight is reflected sunlight. Because moon cannot give light. Why? Because it is a planet. It's not a star. Only a star can emit light by itself. Planet cannot have light by itself. That is a difference. Since moon is not a, I don't know whether you call it as planet or satellite, something they say, right? But definitely it's not a star. Because now there is a lot of confusion we have to call it as a planet. Suddenly they say Pluto is a planet. Suddenly they say Pluto is not a planet. So much of confusion. But definitely one thing we know, it's not a star. Therefore, what is the difference between Vachyartha and Lakshyartha? This is what it is. Very, very, simple. It's not a very complex idea or anything, please. Strictly from one side, it is like this. So we take these two examples. Based on these examples, we delete that possibility of having a multiple consciousness. There is no multiple consciousness. It is only one mass of consciousness. Then they process the whole thing. Then what is making the distinguisher? What is defining the distinction between one consciousness and another consciousness? It is the upadis. It is the vritti. It is the equipments, thoughts. It is thoughts and equipments. Equipments means what? Body, mind, and intellect. Vritti means thoughts. Thoughts is various subtle bodies. Since it is reflecting, it is perceived through the equipments, it is appearing to be many. It is appearing to be different. So the differentiation of this consciousness, what is experienced inside by all of us as consciousness, which is referred to as Chidabhasa, Chit, conditioned consciousness. What we are calling as conditioned consciousness is that consciousness, unconditioned is Brahman. So it is the same consciousness, exactly like it is the same sunlight. When it is coming reflected by the moon, we are calling it as moonlight, which is called Chidabhasa or Chit or conditioned consciousness. So it's like saying the moonlight is sunlight. You say, sir, what is this? Moonlight is sunlight. Correct? No. Is that wrong? Of course, we understand the properties of moonlight is different. The properties of sunlight is different. The moonlight looks very cool. Sunlight is very hot. Isn't it? So moonlight is better. Then we give Mullah's argument. Is sun better, moon better? Mullah argument, moon is better. Why? Because moon gives light in the night. What is the point of sun giving light in the daytime? Daytime means there is light now already. So he says, between sun and moon, moon is better. Mullah's argument like this. So, in that reasoning, they say, what is the way in which we are going to develop the whole idea? So, what we are calling as the conditioned consciousness, the conditioned consciousness experienced by Brahma is different, the conditioned consciousness in Indra different, conditioned consciousness in the superior devas different, the human beings different, the animals different, here different, this different, everywhere it is different. But all that is nothing but one pure consciousness. That one pure consciousness is what is referred as Brahman. Pragnanam Brahma. This is the definition or Lakshana Vakya. Lakshana, that is. Lakshyartha is different, okay? Lakshana is different. So it looks very similar, the terms. So that's what he is giving here. If this consciousness is this, then this is done. So how are we going to understand what is this consciousness and matter, upadis? Now you people talk about Advaita. Advaita means what? No two. Now you said two, no? What is the two things? Upadi is different. Consciousness is different. That's exactly what we are also saying. See that? How this whole arguments gets discussed. The reasoning was done, amazingly here. Say, isn't it different? Isn't it? Now, what is that we are experiencing? Awareness. Correct. There is conditioned consciousness in me. Correct. That conditioned consciousness in me is the same conditioned consciousness is different in this person, that person, and all those things. But then there is one pure unconditioned consciousness, and then there is upadis. This upadis condition that unconditioned consciousness. Correct? No. Suppose you are all with me. See, this is pure theoretical. Okay, don't try to see the problem. Many of us can't relate to these ideas is because we think philosophy means it is meant for, sir, how to handle my problem, you tell me. I have a problem with my, mother-in-law. I have a problem with my neighbor. I have a problem of finance. I have my health problem. I have a mental problem. I have a, relationship breakdown. Now, philosophy is not that place. This is philosophy. Now, the height we go in this is fascinating. You say, okay, if you say that, you talk Advaitam, how can you say there is something called Advaitam itself? That possibility for Advaitam by your own statement, by your own admission, there is no chance. So, the entire Advaitam is ticked off. That's where he comes in this example. He gives this total space and thought space. To handle that, this is given. Now, in the book, he is just giving the points. Okay, now our job is to explore that and extract it from where this is coming. So here we say, how can you say, and this, we establish the relationship between the upadis, the objects, the equipments, and the consciousness. What is the relationship? I think I had mentioned it earlier to you people. Now it's a little easier. We have seen already the four options are there between the relationship. What are they? One says consciousness is a byproduct of equipment. Right? Chemicals in the brains creates the consciousness. That's it. If you are experiencing something, if a person says, I'm experiencing Brahman, he will say there is something injury happened to your brain. There is a, leakage of this. That leakage is touching some other part of your brain. That is why you are experiencing all this. Right? He will not discuss about. You can't tell him, I'm seeing all this and all is ruled out. So for one group of people, for them, equipments, consciousness is a effect of that equipment, byproduct of that equipment. One group. Another group of people say, no. It is consciousness, it is Brahman, it is God that has created matter itself. Who created the world? From where the world came? God only created, no? Did you create? Huh? Did you create the Himalayas? Who created it? Who made that whole universe? The Milky Ways and this, all this is done by God. So God is the reality. Matter is this one. Then you have third one. This is all the theistic religions. Right. Then the fourth one, the third one comes and says, look here. This is also nothing. That also nothing. Both are essentially nothingness. Shunyavada. Buddhism comes and says, what you are calling as matter is also nothing. What you are calling as consciousness is also nothing. Whether you call it as conditioned or unconditioned, whatever you call it, all this is nothing. Complete zero. Shunyavada. This is Buddhism. Of course, I'm not going into the 4 different schools of Buddhism and all that. Okay, that's not my. But Buddhism says that in general. Then we have this Vedanta comes and says, no. Follow the reasoning carefully. What is happening to you? You are experiencing the world. You are aware of the world. Correct? Correct. If what you are experiencing as the world were to be totally different from this, how these two will meet? Consciousness is of totally different, and this is existing in a different plane. If these two things were to be standing at 2 different planes, how they can meet? Now, all this we have studied in theory of perception. Okay, I'm not going in. If you want, you go back to the theory of perception and listen to that lecture again. Right? This is what. So there is a substratum for the subject and there is a substratum for the object. Now, since both were standing as a substratum in this X, that X is what we are referring as Brahman, as Pragnanam. That's why in the Aitareya Upanishad, this word Pragnana comes in that list also. When they're discussing, Brahma, when they're discussing Indra, when they're discussing human beings, when they're discussing, this one, that one, in that Pragnana term comes there also. So what is the difference between that Pragnana and this Pragnana? That Pragnana is the subject. The subject, the mind, the conditioned consciousness. This and this both are happening, interacting in the backdrop of consciousness. So all this is happening in that consciousness, not to the consciousness. You see the difference? Now, I am listening to your lecture, sir. Correct? Which is what we all understand. This is happening to me. Nobody says, I am listening in your lecture. Grammatically, it will be wrong, isn't it? That doesn't happen like that. You'll say, you don't know how to speak English. You're bad, we know, but we didn't expect you to be so pathetic. Right? So we say, what is this? Yes, sir. Because it is the first level of our reasoning is, it is this subject, this awareness, this conditioned consciousness is experiencing the object. So this object is experienced by two. Then we say, no, it is happening in that backdrop, in the substratum, the adhisthana. The foundation is one. We are talking about non-duality at the foundational level, not at this level. So therefore, what is it? Pragnanam Brahma. The whole thing is Brahman. This is what is explained by Isavasya Upanishad as Isavasyam Idagam Sarvam. All this is pervaded by one supreme reality, Brahman. What is that Brahman, sir? That Brahman is nothing but the prajnana that you are experiencing. In fact, all you are experiencing is happening in that prajnana. Because if you remove that prajnana, there is no experience itself. Even to say nothing, you need that prajnana. Isn't it? Then we say there is a conditioned consciousness. So first one, thought. I am seeing the world. I am perceiving the world. All this is perceived by the mind. And then we come to the conditioned consciousness. And then we say that conditioned consciousness in you is none other than the witnessing consciousness. Non-participatory witnessing consciousness is there. That witnessing consciousness is called Brahman, Pragnanam Brahma. You're all with me? All these complexities, finally is very simple. All that you have to say is, what is this, Pragnanam Brahma? Pragnanam Brahma means only this. What is that? It is witnessing consciousness. You have to stay with it, ponder over that idea, and know how this is to be established. That is what he is explaining here. So the object has to be in consciousness. It should be happening inside that consciousness. Since it is happening in that consciousness, what is that object? What is that upadhi? What is that thought? All that has to be made up of what? All the waves, the foam, the froth, all that has to be made up of what? Same water. Same way here, all these things have to be made up of that same singular consciousness only. So whatever you are experiencing in the world is nothing other than Pragnanam. That's what he is giving here. The light shining. That's all it is. The light shines. Pragnanam Brahma. Right. Now we'll go to the next aphorism. Tat Tvam Asi. Yeah.
The second aphorism, Tat Tvam Asi, that thou art, appears in Chandogya Upanishad in the Samaveda. It declares you are pure consciousness. Tat, that, refers to the consciousness, the supreme reality, Brahman. Tvam, thou, to the innermost self, Atman, the core of your personality. Asi, art, establishes the oneness of the all-pervading consciousness and yourself. Brahman and Atman are one and the same. The consciousness is like the ocean, an individual like a wave. The water in the wave and the ocean is the same. Beings would be waves with distinct individualities. The consciousness in every being is the same, all-pervading consciousness. Yourself is the infinite reality, that thou art. This aphorism is in the form of an advice to a spiritual seeker. Hence, it is known as Upadesha Vakya, statement of advice.
This is the Upadesha Vakya appearing in Chandogya Upanishad, 6th chapter. These Vakyas, there is a method being adopted in extracting the meaning for these Vakyas, or the statements, or these Vedic statements. There is a method. They use certain techniques. Tatparya Nirnaya, they call it as. For that, they use 6 methods. There are 6 steps appearing in Mimamsa. This is the Mimamsa Shastra, and Vedanta also uses the same technique. The first one is referred to as Upakrama Upasamhara. Upakrama Upasamhara means the beginning and the end. So if you want to understand something, what do you have to do? You have to see the starting and the ending point. In the beginning, what is said, and in the end, what is said. Since this is what is said in the beginning and the end, the entire presentation, entire talk, entire book, the entire article is talking about that concept. So how do you understand what is the material there we discussed? You have to see Upakrama, Upasamhara. This is one method. Second one they use is Abhyasa. Abhyasa means repetition. What is getting repeated again and again? Typical example we give is political, rally when you go. Right. Every political leader will give a speech. They will give so many analysis. This happened, that happened, this, that, boom, boom, all those things. But finally, he will say one thing. What is it? Vote for me. So the essence of the talk is what? So what is he speaking about? What he will go on saying again and again and again? Anything that gets repeated again and again is called Abhyasa. So when you are reading a textbook, when you are reading a book, you need to see for this repetition. What is getting repeated? Now, in the statement appearing, Tat Tvam Asi, appearing in Chandogya Upanishad, in the 6th chapter, they use all the 6 points and establish Tat Tvam Asi is the material in that. So first one, how the chapter begins and how the chapter. See, beginning in the sense, don't take literally the like a first statement. Not in that sense, please. If you take first statement, that will be ladies and gentlemen. Oh, sir, what is the taparya for ladies and gentlemen? There's no meaning in that. Okay. Because obviously, only human beings are going to be sitting there. Right? I don't think I will be called by the congregation of goats. Ishwaran, come and deliver a lecture to us. They will not come. So I have to go and say there only. Now, what is the meaning of that? No, literally don't take it as first statement and the last statement. But it does help. Like we give the explanation for Bhagavad Gita. What is Bhagavad Gita talking about, sir? What is the first word? Dharma kshetre kurukshetre. So what is the first word? Dharma. Last word of the last verse in the Bhagavad Gita is Mama. So the entire Bhagavad Gita is the discussion on dharma mama. What is my dharma? What is my nature? This is what Bhagavad Gita, central theme of Bhagavad Gita is this. This is how we derive the Tatparya Nirnaya. Upakrama, upasamhara. This is one. Second one is this. Abhyasa is the second method, where you go in for repetition. What that person goes on repeating time and again in right through his presentation. Right through his presentation, what is the central thing? Therefore, what you should do? Lot of analysis, everything will do. Therefore, what you should do? Do pranayama. Therefore, what you should do? So, I will also take a class. I will also give an explanation. I will also be teaching. We will also do a lot of analysis, lot of talk. Finally, we will say one thing, what? Therefore, what you should do? By now, all of you should know that. Therefore, build your intellect. Nowhere you would have heard, therefore, do pranayama by Ishvara. Correct. I'll never say that. So, what is the essential teaching here? Build your intellect is the essential teaching of this one. This is how we define the Tatparya Nirnaya. This is through Abhyasa, second one. Then we have Apoorvadha. Apoorvadha is the third method, wherein we look in for something afresh, something newly introduced. What is that is explained in that textbook which is not explained in other textbooks? What is so unique about, like we keep saying, no, USP. What is the USP of you? Everybody is selling, everybody is having, sir, but then what is the USP of this one? Colgate itself has many toothpastes, correct? But then, what is the uniqueness of this particular toothpaste? If salt is such an important one, put that salt in everything, no? If charcoal is so important for keeping your teeth better, hygienic one, then put salt and carbon together and give as one, no. No. That will not be done. This is what is the uniqueness of each product. What is so unique about it, sir? So what is same way when a person speaks or when you're reading a book, you have to search for these things. Remember that. These are all consciously you go to work on these things. What is that is being stated so unique? What is so unique in today's class? Right. Is there anything newly been stated or stated afresh? Suppose imagine the same thing is being repeated. Then it is boring. Bhasha movie, how many times you will watch? Anything new you are going to get. Whereas, when you are reading Bhagavad Gita, every time you are getting a new meaning, isn't it? Something new comes, something a fresh idea, it reveals, it shows. That's the potency of this classical literature. So when you are reading a classical literature, what are you supposed to do? Look out for what is a fresh, new idea. Third one. The fourth one is, what is the phala being promised? Right. When you do this, when you study these things, what is the effect promised? So, what is the essential aspect of the book? The essential aspect of the book is this. Like every book, there is a Phalastuthi for that. Of all that, what is that I like the most is this Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam. Give this Phalastuthi for this. What is the Phala? By reading, okay, you read Bhagavatam, what will happen to you? And they give a big list. Samsara will go, you will get health, you will get life, you will get this. Get so much big list. Will go for about 10, 12 verses goes. What all that you will get out of all this. Who will get all that? Says that's the best part in that Bhagavatam. Finally, all this will be coming to the person who is wishing to listen to Bhagavatam talks. That's all. You don't have to read Bhagavatam. Right? You don't have to actually listen to that. We don't know what will happen to that person. But all that you have to do is what? Just wish that, I wish I can study Srimad Bhagavatam. Sir, now that you have said, why don't you start teaching Bhagavatam? Don't ask me. Okay. How much we'll get in that? Wish itself is enough. Amazing one. So what is the essential material of this Bhagavatam here? Is that Shraddha, is the faith. That is the essential one. How do you derive it? From that Phala, we derive that. We say, this is what essentially the text is for. So we say this is the root of it. Then we have this Arthavada. The fifth one is the Arthavada. Narratives. Certain things were exalted there so much. There's praised so much. Few things were praised so greatly. So the essence of the whole thing is what? Say that one, which is being praised so much. Conclusions of this narratives, huge narratives there. Arthavada, which is referred as, but there will be a lot of exaggerations in that because you have to exalt. This is a great one, this is extraordinary. You go on praising that. Since you are raising that to such a height, so what is the essential aspect of that entire text is this. Then finally, you got to give, you derive using certain reasoning. Upabhakti is the reasoning. An idea gets established through a proper reasoning. So therefore, this is what it is. So when a person says something, we look out for the reasoning also. So the 6 methods are employed to establish the meaning of the statement. Right? Many a times the problem here is this, particularly the statements like Tat Tvam Asi, you have to do. Which one we are going to use now? Tat Tvam Asi. How are we going to establish the meaning of Tat Tvam Asi now? Now I'm not going to be using other things. I'm just going to use the standard method of the last one, Upabhakti. We derive using the system of reasoning. A system of reasoning involving some of them use 2 steps, some of them use 3 steps. There are 2 ways of doing it. Okay. 2 steps are easier ones. And 3 steps is little complex ones. Not really speaking, but it is slightly complex. Fortunately, we have seen the first step already. The first step is studied already, so it should be easier for us now at least to some extent. Tat Tvam Asi. What is that, sir? It is a statement. What sort of a statement is this? We say, this is of the nature of Samanadikaranya. This is a Samanadikaranya Vakya. I hope you have not forgotten. What is this Samanadikaranya? What is the example of Samanadikaranya? Each one is looking at each other. I know that. Given that example, Vishnu Sahasranama, many words referring to one adhisthana, one thing with many words. This is the Samanadikaranya, the statement of identity. It is a statement of identity. Since Tat Tvam Asi is a Tat is a different word, Tvam is a different word, but then the implied meaning of Tat and the implied meaning of Tvam refers to the same thing. So therefore, what is it, sir? It is the Samanadikaranya. But then here people will go and say, okay, if you say that, why can't we call it as the, what do you call it? Tat Adhinatvam Asi is what the meaning of that statement. Why do you have to call it as only this? Tat Tvam Asi means Tat Tvam Asi. This, what is the meaning of that statement? Not Tat Adhinatvam Asi. Tat Adhinatvam Asi means you are subservient to that Lord. That's what it means actually. Because Sanskrit, you can derive that meaning from this. The Sanskrit grammar allows that. Immediately we say what? No, we cannot derive that statement here. Why? Go into the context. What is the context of that statement, Tat Tvam Asi, appearing in Chandogya Upanishad? Where does it appear? It is appearing between, it's a conversation happening between Shvetaketu and his father. The Shvetaketu has come back from his education. When he has come back from the education, the father is asking him, have you understood that you are Brahman? Have you understood that oneness? He says, I don't know about all that. I have not understood that. I don't know, he says. Then the father teaches him. That's why he goes on repeating that 9 times, Tat Tvam Asi Shvetaketu. And every time he takes up one example and explains. Another example explains. Another example explains. So when you see the context of Tat Tvam Asi appearing in Chandogya Upanishad, we cannot derive this meaning of there is a Lord, there is a Mahavishnu there, and now we are all supposed to be his servant. Because that's not the context at all there in the conversation of these two. So therefore, Tat Adhinityam Asti cannot be taken as the meaning for Tattvam Asi, ruled out. So you got to rule out. Contrary things or other theories have to be developed and then you have to rule it out. Like I have told you, even the Samanadikaranyam introduction, I said there are 16 types of Samanadikaranya. So in that 16, you got to take up, is it this possibility, this type of statement? No. Why? Because of this reason, this cannot be. Then for this reason, cannot be. 15 types of Samanadikaranya to be taken and deleted. And finally, we take only one. 16 is deleted. Same way here, you have to delete all those possibilities. This is where the second step comes into picture. So first step, the Samanadikaranya. You say, why is that? Because it cannot be referring to all these things. That cannot be referring to Lord, God, and then Tvam cannot be referring to you as a devotee. No, it cannot be that meaning. Then what is it? Tat is referring. That is a conclusion we come to. So for that conclusion, there is another step in between we get into. The standard example given is this Nilotpala is a standard example given by those people. Means blue lotus. Right? Little tricky, just follow a little, okay? Blue lotus. So when I say blue lotus, lotus is the object, blue is the attribute. You cannot separate blue. When I say blue lotus, the blueness when I am saying blue is referred to what? The same lotus only, isn't it? The same adhisthana, same object. We are not referring to blue sky. We are not referring to blue sari, blue t-shirt. That's not what we are referring to. When we say blue in this context, it refers to the same one. Lotus also what? Refers to the same one. Samanadikaranya, no? What is Samanadikaranya? Both the words should be referring to the same thing. So, blue lotus. Tat Tvam Asi is blue lotus. Agreed? Correct, sir. You are trapped. Right, there is a pun. What is a pun there? The pun is this. The lotus is the object and the property of the lotus is blueness. Correct? Isn't it? Therefore, what are we? Blueness is a property, guna of that padartha. Right? Lotus is a padartha and guna of the lotus is blueness. Same way, tvam, you, the jiva, is the property of the Lord. So you become what now? Your property. You belong to one of the qualities of God. And what are the qualities? God has many qualities. One of the qualities, you are also part of it. So what are you? You are part of God. We land up where? We land up in Visishtadvaita. You see that? How reasoning goes. Steps are all correct only. Every step is logical here. No fault at all. Samanadikaranya? Yes, Samanadikaranya, agreed, sir. This is where the second problem we get into. This second problem we need to overcome. Only then we can enter into the third. Lakshyartha can be studied after that. So here we say, yeah, correct. The lotus and blue are compatible. That guna and that padartha on which the guna is attributed to should be compatible. Isn't it? A non-compatible quality cannot be attributed to that, isn't it? For example, phonetic lotus. Is it possible? Democratic lotus. I'm not talking about BJP, eh? Okay. This is the problem now. Now, this is not the Shastras, they have taken this example as lotus. I don't know why they took that. Today, the moment you say lotus, immediately everybody starts thinking there. How can you attribute this on that? It should be compatible. Now, is there any possibility of that compatibility between the nature of Lord and the nature of the Jiva? Who is Jiva? Alpagnya. Lord is Sarvagnya. Right. Jiva is Alpa Shaktiman. God is Sarva Shaktiman. How can Alpagnya and that can be same? Therefore, it's not Vasishtha Dvaita, it is Dvaita. Totally different. You see that? We started with something, we landed on something, and finally we come to conclusion, no, it is not, it is this. That's why we introduced these three schools of thoughts before studying all this. These three ideas, beautiful one there. How the reasonings and where you start and where you land. They say, no, that is not the case. What is that? I am Jiva is known to me. Another problem. Lord is unknown. The existence of Lord has to be taken purely on faith. This is purely on faith I have to take it. I exist is a matter of fact. Fortunately, we have explained this also. Right. This is another problem. How can a matter of fact can be mixed up with which is purely a matter of faith? Therefore, what does it say? No, they are not. One is direct, another one is a matter of faith. Therefore, it is not. So therefore, how are we going to come to? This is where we go into this basic meaning of the words. Sir, before you go into the study of the statement, first you need to understand how are we deriving meaning to the words first. Word meaning, how are we going to give? For word meaning, there are two ways. We have seen that already. One is direct, another one is indirect. One is Vachyartha, another one is Lakshyartha. Vachyartha is the implied meaning. I'm sorry, Vachyartha is the direct meaning. And then Lakshyartha is the implied meaning there. In that, again, there are three classes. This is Vachyartha is not coming. Tat Tvam Asi, we are not able to understand the direct meaning of those words. Therefore, we have to rely only on the implied meaning. There's no option for us. Because directly, we are not able to understand what is the word meaning is. So, we have to go for implied. In that implied meaning, they say there are three ways are there. Three ways in which we understand the meaning of those words. One is referred to as Jagat Lakshana. Second one, Ajagat Lakshana. Just words, you don't worry much actually. Third one is Bhagatyaga Lakshana. Jagat Lakshana, Ajagat Lakshana, Bhagatyaga Lakshana. What is this Jagat Lakshana? Jagat Lakshana means you remove the actual meaning, you give totally a different one to it. You remove the original one. After removing the original, you replace the new one. Only then the statement will make sense. Otherwise, the statement will not make any sense. It will not be consistent, and we have seen that. What are the rules for making a statement? There are three rules. We have seen all those things earlier. Right. So for that statement, they say, Gangayam Goshaha. is the standard example given in the Shastra. Gangayam Gosha. Gangayam Gosha means what? The milkman living on the Ganges. Their house is on the Ganges. How can you have a house on the water? How can you build a house on water? So that is not possible, because you cannot have a house on, because it should make sense. It should be possible, isn't it? The statement should be a doable one. We have seen that already. How can you do prokshanam with fire? Not possible, sir. Same way here, Gangayam Gosha means it is not possible for you to build a house on a running water. Ganga is the river. River means what? Flow of water. On the flow of water, how can you build a house? So therefore, what they must be referring to? On the banks of the Ganges. That's what it means. Correct. So what are we doing here? We are removing on the Ganges and replacing that with banks of the river. That is what the meaning of it. So now we apply that rule here for Tat Tvam Asi. Tvam. What is the Tvam Pada, sir? We have to remove the entire meaning of Tvam Pada and give a new meaning to it. How is it possible? Tat Pada. You have to remove the entire meaning for Tat Pada and give a new meaning to it. Give up the whole thing means you have to give up along with that Pragnana, you have to give up. Correct. Entire Ganges has to be given up. Because they are not on the Ganges. They are actually here. It's not there. It's here actually. So, this Jagat Lakshana, meaning for that padas are not valid. Then we go to the second one. We say Ajagat Lakshana. What is that Ajagat Lakshana? Again, the scriptures, they give a beautiful example. Say, one fellow says, in the race course, red is running faster, red is going faster. When he says, how can a color red run? Red color cannot be running. Then what is he referring to? You have to make a sense to that statement. Means you don't have to remove the red. Without removing the red, you add a new word to it. Red horse is running. When you are adding a new word to it, what happens? The statement is making sense. Possible. Otherwise, red running is not a possibility at all. So therefore, we say what? This is called the second one. Without giving up the original meaning, red has not given up. Red is still retaining its original meaning. You just add something. Then what will happen? We have already seen the nature of Ishvara and the nature of Jiva is contradictory. The contradictory qualities cannot be added, isn't it? How can you add that? Contradictory ones cannot be added together. Because contradictory one, if you add together, that added one will confuse you more than providing any sort of clarity. How can you add contradictory things? Because we are adding something only to make it more clear. By adding the contradictory one, how can you do? Therefore, Tat Tvam Asi cannot be taken into this way. Then what is it, sir? Then we say, third option is there, which is called as Bhagatyaga Lakshana. Bhagatyaga, you understand. One aspect you give up, retain other aspects and continue. which is very, all of us use it everyday basis. See, don't think all these words, we are not using it on a daily basis. We are using all this on a daily basis. But only thing is, we don't know that's what we are doing, actually. That's all. Otherwise, all these things are used on a daily basis. I bought a mango. Statement. I bought a mango. I ate a mango. When you make a statement, I bought a mango, you bought the whole mango. When you made a statement, I ate the mango, you did not eat the entire mango. Isn't it? You didn't eat the skin. In many cases, some cases eat skin also. But even then, you don't eat the shell, no? The hard shell, the seed inside that was not eaten by you. That was rejected by you. That you didn't eat. But you make it when you are making a statement, I ate a mango. All of us understand what? Part of it you ate, you did not consume the entire mango. We all understand that, no? Immediately nobody comes and says, oh, that means you only said no, you ate a mango. Mango includes what? The shell and the seed. Therefore, you must have eaten the shell and the seed also. This is what we call as Vedanta. See, this is not thinking, this is not reasoning at all, actually speaking. So when a person makes a statement, so what do? We accept a part of it, deleting another part. This Bhagatyaga Lakshana. This is Bhagatyaga. Right. This Vakya, Tat Tvam Asi, belongs to which category? The first one? No. Second one? No. Then what is it, sir? This belongs to the category of this. So now what do we say? Tat Tvam Asi. What is Tvam? Tvam is an individual. Jiva. Jiva is what? Shvetaketu. Who is Shvetaketu? Shvetaketu is nothing but a combination of the Pragnanam plus Upadi. Ignorance. Equipments. Whatever. Now you can keep adding words to it. You can say avidya, you can call it as upadi, you can call it as vritti, you can call it as this, equipment, you can call it as matter. You do whatever you want with it, we don't care. Add. So what is Shvetaketu? Because it is addressed to Shvetaketu. Dalaka is telling to his son Shvetaketu. Shvetaketu, Tat Tvam Asi Shvetaketu. So it is addressed to Shvetaketu. So Tvam is what then Shvetaketu. What is Tvam? Jiva. Jiva is what now? Pragnanam, pure consciousness, plus equipments. Yes. Then what is Tat? Tat refers to God, refers to Ishvara, refers to Saguna Brahman. What is Saguna Brahman? Ishvara. Ishvara is nothing but Nirguna Brahman coupled with Maya. So Tvam is Pragnanam plus Ajnanam. Tat Brahman or Nirguna Brahman plus Maya. Bhagatyaga is what? We drop this Ajnanam part in Tvam and Maya in Tat and take only Nirguna Brahman and the Pragnanam in the Jiva. The Pragnanam that is there in you is that Nirguna Brahman. Tvam Asi. This is how this Tatparya Nirnaya happens. Established now. Right. After establishing, so many questions will come in. Objections are there for that and all that. I'm not going into all that now. How we counter all those objections. They raise objections for all this. At every step, no. They say, no, that is correct only. And then we ask again, no. Again we give a right, answer to those things. But we are not getting into all those things right now. At least this much you should be able to get it. How we are establishing Tat Tvam Asi meaning. How do you say that, sir? This is the derivative steps. So first one, we say, what is the nature of that statement? Samanadikaranya. And then we go to the next step. Then we say, no. Is it Visheshana Vishesha Bhava or what? That's where we delete that possibility of misunderstanding that Samanadikaranya. Which is the example we gave. We took up and analyzed is this blue lotus analysis. So that we don't draw, drawn towards this Vishishta Dvaita and Dvaita. We say, no, it cannot be in that direction. So therefore, what we have to do, go back and start afresh. So it's sort of a deviation. We come back to that Samanadikaranya and then again start the analysis. This is where we go into this third step of Lakshyartha analysis. In that Lakshyartha analysis, we found there are three things. There are three ways in which we identify that. What are they, sir? Jagat, Ajagat, and Bhagatyaga. It's not Jagat, it is not Ajagat, it is Bhagatyaga. Only we have to take. In that Bhagatyaga, what do? We take one aspect, reject another aspect. Which aspect is accepted here? Pragnanam aspect is accepted. Ajnanam aspect is rejected. In Tatpada, what is accepted? Nirguna Brahman accepted, Maya rejected. So, that is ticked off, this is ticked off. Then, that Pragnana is Nirguna Brahman, Tat Tvam Asi. This is how Tatparya Nirnaya happens. Using this last step here. Using all the other 5 steps also, they establish the same conclusion. I'm not going into all that. Right? Upabhakti is what we are taking up now. On what basis we arrive at this conclusion? This is what the meaning of Tat Tvam Asi. Because this is the Upadesha Vakya. Tat Tvam Asi. Right? We'll see in the next class. Thank you.